Welcome, everybody. My name is Jennifer Brown, and I am from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service from Person and Granville counties. So we are going to just jump right in today to our slow and easy presentation on slow cookers. You might call them crock pots. And we're going to talk all about them, which ones are things that you want to take in consideration before you buy one, or maybe you've had one, you've used it, and it's been stored away. There's a lot of benefits to having a slow cooker. First of all, I know for me, being a mom of 3 kids and we're always on the go, it's just very easy to just kind of, turn it on, dump everything in it, and then just I'm good to go. And it can cook all day. I don't have to be at home. I don't have to be watching it. And it's great for beginners. So if you are new to cooking, and if you are just not sure what to do with it, this is your best piece of equipment here. This is one of the easiest ones that we can do. And it's great for beginners, but no matter your level, you can try different recipes, different things. Some of the easiest soups and stews and things that you can just dump and go, or this is your appliance for it. So if you're going to buy any appliance and you don't have one, this is the one I would definitely start with, because it's very versatile. Even recipes that you have for your oven can be used in your slow cooker. And they're fairly inexpensive. They can come in a variety of different sizes and shapes. I'm going to show you a couple that I have here in my office, as well as I've got some throughout the presentation. So you'll get to see different types too. And it's great that it has, if you are just like all of us, we're trying to pinch pennies and watch our food budget and different things like that. It's helping your energy budget at your home, because it's going to use less electricity than your oven. So if you are in a part of the country that is a lot warmer certain times of the year, I do not want my oven making my house any hotter. Okay, I do not need that whatsoever. So it'll help save my energy bill as well. And it's got different settings. Some of them have multiple settings. Some just have a basic high and low setting. So it's doing the basics that it's supposed to do. So we're gonna do a little poll really quickly for all of you all. Miss Serene is gonna put that on there for us. I don't know if, oh, there it is. Okay. So before we get into too much of the basic principles and which one you need to buy, I want to have a couple of questions for you guys. So the questions, again, there are 4 of them. Please scroll down to answer all 4. Is this your first time participating in one of these extension classes, either part of this series or just in general? Is this your first time participating in this actual 9-10 week series that we're doing? And then I want to know about your level of experience with slow cooking. If you've had a little bit, somewhat, very experienced, or you have never touched the thing. And then if you have anyone else who is watching this with you, that's what that last question is. So if it's you and your family, or you and a coworker or whatever, then you can just let us know how many people are watching today. So, okay, there we go. Okay, so I see that several of you are returning to an extension workshop, whether it's with North Carolina or Idaho or Georgia or Tennessee, or maybe a whole nother state as well. We've got some new people that have not participated in this series. Great, we're happy to have you. And we've got a lot more workshops in this series that I cannot wait for as well. And we have all different kinds, levels of experience. So that's great. Okay, that'll help. So some other basic principles when we are looking at a slow cooker is typically we're talking about a protein of some kind, and then you combine it with some kind of a starch and a fruit or a veggie in just one pot. That's the great thing. And another benefit of it is you don't have to have all of these pots and all of these different pieces of cookware in your kitchen. This is so versatile for so many different recipes, because if your kitchen is like mine at my home, I only have so many cabinets. And so I really do have to be very picky about the pieces of equipment that I keep in them. And a lot of these are big and bulky and can take up a lot of space. And I don't have space on my counter, and I don't have space in my cabinets for all of these different things too. It just requires a little bit of prep depending on which recipe you are going to have. We have shared, when you got the email, I believe last Friday, it had some, I think four different recipes for slow cook recipes. There are so many that I can share with you, and I'll actually give you a couple more in some of our handouts and resources that we'll share with you. I remember I even have a book somewhere at my house that is just fix it and forget it. That just sums up the slow cooker perfectly, that you can maybe prep the night before. And if you know you're going to have a crazy night, you're going to have a very small window to be at home before you're going to have to race away to all the kids, you can just dump it there in the morning. It'll cook on low for 6 to 8 hours. And when you come home, your house is going to smell amazing. And yes, if you are in the in a place that there's a lot of rain or it's cold and dreary, one of my favorite times to use the slow cooker is in that January, February timeframe, when we have a lot of inclement weather there. And if you are adding other stuff to it, such as herbs and spices, there are some basic rules of recommendations. They recommend that you use whole herbs and spices instead of getting the stuff out of your cabinet that is crushed or ground. Because if you put that in there and it's cooking for a long period of time, it's just going to cook out that flavor. So you can add it in the beginning as a whole herb or a whole spice, and it'll help keep some of that flavors throughout. But sometimes it could be something that you add in just at the last minute, just to give it a little extra flavoring. Or sometimes I'll dish it out into the different bowls, and then the individuals in my household, they like to add their own extra little stuff in there. Because somebody might like something, it's, food allergies, whatever else it is, they can add that later on. So which one do you buy? You can see from this picture here, there's a variety of different ones, but I like this picture because it had two different types there. So you can see a round one, and you can see an oval shaped one. And you can also see that they are two different sizes. That is really just dependent upon what you're going to use it for and the size of your family. Unless you're cooking for a huge group, or you're planning to use it at a lot of, church potlucks or something like that, then typically the 4-quart slow cooker, which is the smaller one, is the most versatile size and can serve that family of 4 or 5. But if you're like me too, I want to cook a big old batch, and it's great to freeze. A lot of the soups and stews and things that I'll make in my slow cooker, I can freeze as well. One of our later sessions in this series is about freezer meals. So that would be a good one as well for you to attend. If you have not registered for that, definitely get registered for that one, because freezer meals go really well with the crock pot. That you've prepared the freezer meals, and then literally you just take the bag and dump all the ingredients in the crock pot. So I would definitely recommend you attend that one. So a couple of things that I have noticed from my experience is I want to make sure that I have a removable liner, insert, whatever you want to call it there. That black part that's right there, I want to be able to take it out. So there are some, I actually have a couple in my office that I cannot remove that liner. It is the crock pot. It is made, into it. So it just makes it more difficult for me to clean, because that insert, I can pop out, I can stick it in the sink, I can wash it very easily. I don't have to worry about the electrical cord getting anywhere near the water. I can even take that insert and also put it in my dishwasher as well. If you do not have a crock pot with that, that insert or that liner that you can remove, then there's a couple of other things that you can do that I'll show you in some of the other slides, but we recommend a different insert or disposable liner that you can use as well. Some do have a lot of little trinkets on them, and that's really, again, up to you. I like the just basic ones. It's got the basic timer, you know, the low, the high, and the warm, and that's it. It doesn't have a cooking timer. It doesn't have all of these extra gadgets, but again, I use it, you know, either on maybe on a weekend if I'm running around doing chores around the house and I can just have that cooking all day. So I don't need a programmable timer for most of the stuff that I do. So you just have to kind of make that decision yourself. But I've seen some, and I've got a picture too that will show you some of the programmable ones. Some of them I've seen have like a retracting cord. So you don't have to have this big cord that's hanging around or falling over, you're trying to tie into it. Also, we recommend the locking tops, and I have a picture later as that. But a basic one that you will find just has the warm, the high, and the low setting. If you get the ones with all of the other programmable stuff or the timers, of course, that's going to cost more. But these have gotten fairly inexpensive because there are so many other kitchen gadgets and gizmos that you can buy nowadays that these, I just went to Walmart earlier today and even saw one about that size that I think was like $17. So, and you can find them most anywhere, you know, if you, of course, Amazon, but Walmart or whatever, crock pot is going to be something that you can find very easily in your store. So here is the programmable cooker here. So, and you can see not only is this the programmable cooker, but it has the locking top at the top that I was talking about. I think I have another picture later as well. That is if you are planning to transport it. If you are never going to take your crock pot, then you probably don't need the locking top. But nowadays, most of them have some way, shape, or form to lock it. So I don't think you're paying a whole lot extra to get that feature. But you can see from the programmable screen right there, you can, you know, enter the type of the food, you know, the amount you have, when you want to schedule it, you can set a temperature, you can, you know, it has a clock on it and all of that kind of stuff. Whenever you are getting a crock pot, or even previous weeks, we talked about the electric pressure cooker. We're going to talk about the air fryer. You want to make sure that you are reading the manufacturer's instruction. That is one of the most important things to do no matter what. And it will tell you how to use all of the extra little pieces of it. It'll tell you making sure that you are setting it correctly, because just like any product, the manufacturer, one manufacturer might have different settings, guidelines, food safety requirements, different things than the other. So this picture right here is a perfect example that crock pot is kind of a brand. So we often use it interchangeably when we're talking about slow cooker or crock pot, but the official term is a slow cooker. Crock pot is just one of the names. Just like previously we talked about the electric pressure cooker, which is basically the Instapot. So they did a really good job marketing their brand for that product. So with the programmable cooker, you're going to set the time and you're going to set the temperature. Some of the timers have like 30-minute increments. So again, you can't set it for, you know, 6 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. It's going to be 6 hours and 30 minutes, 7, which I think most of us are particularly fine with that. Some of the programmable ones are good in the sense that if you do experience a power failure due to inclement weather or a storm, or if your power company is just running a test, it will reset itself once it goes through a power failure. Again, making sure that you're reading all of the guidelines on there. It's got a beautiful LED display. It can automatically, you can set it so it can automatically switch from the low setting to a warm setting when your time is up. So if you say that you want to cook something low for 8 hours, but maybe you're not going to be home till 8.5 or 9 or whatever else, you don't want to keep cooking it longer because it could possibly overcook something. So that way it can automatically switch it to a warm setting so that it is just becoming it's just holding in the heat, not cooking it any further. It's just making sure it's not getting cold there. These can keep food warm up to 12 hours. So, they also have other slow cookers. This is an example of like a triple slow cooker. There's some pros and cons to this. Again, it really just depends on what you're using it for. You can see that it's really good at cooking like a small batch, but you could just buy an individual 4-quart slow cooker to do the same thing. But you can also see with each of these, there's a different dial. So it could be one you want to cook on low, one you need to cook on high, one you just want to warm. So I do like this if you want to cook smaller things. Maybe you do have someone who has food allergies and you need to separate different things. For example, my husband is allergic to beef. So if we're cooking some kind of, stew or, a lasagna thing or whatever else, I want to make sure, okay, this is the beef stew, this is the veggie stew, this is the chicken stew or whatever else. And I can keep them completely separate from each other. So hopefully I don't have any food allergy issues there. If you have a small family or if it's just you and another spouse, oftentimes people are like, I don't want to cook this big old thing. And then it's just the two of us and we're eating off of this thing for like 8 days. Then it might be that you need to get a smaller slow cooker or even doing something like this. If you were really into meal planning, this is really great because you could do this on the weekend. You could cook, say, the veggie stew and the minestrone soup and then some chicken and potatoes in 3 different pots. And you could do that over the weekend, maybe when you have more time. And then during the weekday, when your family's all busy and crazy, you already have your meals. You've already cooked, and that's going to be food for Monday and Tuesday, and that's Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday or whatever else. So that's really good if you're trying to do some more meal prep and meal planning. If you are doing something like this, say again, at a church, it's really good so that you are just bringing small amounts and you only need 1 electrical outlet. Because again, if you've been, in my kitchen, it's small and there's plenty of other little things. Even if it's just all the kids want to plug up their phone on my kitchen counter, I run out of outlets. So I can't have, an air fryer and electric pressure cooker and the slow cooker and all of them running at the same time. I'll pop a circuit basically at my house. So this is just 1 cord, 1 electrical outlet, 3 different meals, small amounts that might suit your lifestyle better. Again, it's not necessarily good. You could do the same meal in 3 different pots if you need to get that big batch. This could potentially take up more space in your storage facility because instead of 1 little 4-quart slow cooker, you're kind of getting 3 of them in there. So you kind of have to weigh the costs and the pros and the cons there for that. So some overall tips for success when we are looking at slow cookers. One of the first things you want to make sure that you do that if you have meat, you have defrosted the meats beforehand. Okay. Because if you normally we are putting something in a slow cooker that is, right out of our fridge, and the veggies and stuff that we are also putting in there is right out of our fridge. So if you have the meat and it's frozen and that's typically at 0 degrees, and then you have the veggies who are starting out at 40 degrees and you're putting them in there at the same time, the veggies are going to cook and be ready before that meat is ever cooked. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit differently when we do the freezer meals, because at that point, they're both going in there. Everything is frozen there. Okay, when you're putting the freezer meals in, everything is starting at that same temperature. So it's going to take the same amount of time to heat up. Whether it's starting at 40 or starting at 0 is not a big deal. But when you start one at 0 and you're starting something here, that can definitely cause a problem there. Okay. Buying cuts of meat that will fit in your slow cooker. I have definitely done this one before. I go and I'll buy a ham, and I'll think I can fit it in my slow cooker, and then I put it in there, the flat side, down, and then I have this big bone that's sticking up, and I can't get the lid on top of it. Like the ham itself will fit, but it's oddly shaped. So when you do buy a cut of meat, making sure that you do take that in consideration, or you bring it home, and when you get it home, you kind of get your slow cooker out and see if you can fit that meat in there and actually cover, the lid. The lid needs to be completely closed. It can't just be oddly sitting on top of that. Otherwise, you're going to have to do what I did the night before Thanksgiving, and then we're just hacksawing some of this bone off so that it will fit into my slow cooker there. A lot of times it's really good for, again, those stew meats. You want to make sure that all of your different products that are going into it are cut about the same size. So you don't want to have big, huge, thick chunks and then small little pieces as well. Just like if you were cooking in your oven, those small little pieces are going to burn while the other ones haven't fully cooked yet. Okay. We want you to brown your meat ahead of time. So if you've got some ground meat or something like that, it's recommended to do that in your the pan on your stove first, just because, just like everyone, you understand, you're going to get some of that fat and some of that grease that you want to drain off before you put that meat in there. So that is the recommendation, is to brown some of the ground meat to help reduce that fat content. Otherwise, all that fat and that grease is going to be in there with all of the rest of the liquid. Just like the rest of the fats, we recommend to be a little bit healthier, taking some of that skin off the poultry, trimming off some of that excess fat. You don't have to, of course. We just always want to, work in that nutrition component as well, that if you are eating these meals, we want to make sure that you know that you can still use a slow cooker and still eat healthy. One of my favorite things too is I'm a little bit cheap. So I really like the slow cooker because I can use those lesser quality cuts of meats, like some of those stew meats that are often less expensive. And I can use those because the moist heat from the slow cooker with, the steam that's kind of in there is going to help make those lesser quality meats more tender and more moist. Versus if I took those same stew meat and tried to cook them in a pan on my stove, it's not going to be, it's not going to take much for me to dry them out. And then they're just going to be kind of tough and chewy. And that's not what I want as well. So yes, we always try to combine all of our different lessons together, whether it's nutrition, food budgeting, food safety, meal planning, all of it together there. When you are cooking with some of your root vegetables, as we call them, your potatoes, your carrots, those definitely need to be placed at the bottom because they're going to take longer to cook. And but if you have some of the more softer, tender pieces of vegetables, like your tomatoes, your mushrooms, or zucchini, then you can actually add those in towards the end. So, let it cook the meat and the other root vegetables down that 6 to 8, whatever the time frame is. And then about 30 to 45 minutes before, you're going to serve, or it's going to be done, or whatever else, that's when you can slide in some more of those tender vegetables, or even some of your dairy products as well. Seafood too is very, very sensitive and very tender. It'll just shred and you won't get any of that really good flavoring a lot of times. So they do recommend the seafood also be added within about the last hour of cooking. And if you are doing beans, specifically dried beans, just like normal, and we have a whole week that we're talking about cooking beans. So all I'm going to say is we recommend that you soak your dried beans overnight before you cook them. So whether it's a slow cooker or whether it's a pot, soaking those dried beans is what we are always going to recommend before you are actually cooking, no matter which apparatus or piece of equipment you are using there. When you are filling the slow cooker, again, some of us get, we've got this big, huge pot, and we get excited. We just keep dumping stuff in there. You want to fill the slow cooker enough, but not too much. So the rule of thumb is to fill it no less than a half of the way full but no more than 2/3 of the way full. So it was funny when I was looking up for some different pictures, and I was trying to find a picture, and I took this picture from Nebraska University, and all of the pictures I could find online when I was like looking up slow cookers they were completely and utterly full. And I know it's just because that's what the photographer wanted when he was taking a picture of that slow cooker, is he wanted you to be able to see all of the veggies and the meat just kind of sitting there at the top. And it was very difficult for me to find a picture of a slow cooker that wasn't overfilled. Again, the reason we say this is because if it's too much, then it's going to slow down that cooking process. So it could be it's not cooking fully enough to make sure that it is food safe. Just like the opposite way, if it's not full enough, then you risk it burning or from it cooking too fast. Okay, just I've got a recipe, an example later that if it doesn't have enough moisture in it as well, it's gonna burn, and then it will stick to the liner and it'll be a whole mess to clean up there. So thankfully, as I mentioned, the slow cooker is very, very versatile, and it can be used for a lot of different recipes. So I'm sure that you have recipes in your kitchen or in your cookbooks or whatever that you can use a slow cooker for. You may not have known that or thought about it, but we're going to talk about how to convert some of those recipes. And I will say, I know that there is a lot of information. I don't know if it was shared before, but a lot of your electric pressure cooker recipes as well can be converted. And typically when you buy one of those pieces of equipment, or you can find it online as well, they will have information about here's our recipes, here's how you can convert it to a slow cooker or something like that. But when you are looking in your normal cookbook, when we are looking at a recipe, we typically recommend that you are reducing the amount of liquid that is in your recipe up to about 50%. Okay. Again, that's only unless one of your ingredients is like a pasta or grain or of some kind, because it's going to need that liquid with the grain product as well. But if you don't have that grain in your recipe and you want to switch it to a slow cooker, then you can reduce some of that liquid there. It recommends you're draining all canned vegetables unless your recipe says otherwise. And we often notice or recommend to start off low. That's the best way to cook your recipes. And I will tell you, I'm no different. I cook a lot of stuff on high. We want to make sure that it's getting enough time to get all of those flavors in there. So I would really just say it depends on when you're cooking it. There are plenty of times that I will cook something in a slow cooker. Maybe it's a chili or whatever. And if you know chilies, it's always the best the next day. The longer it has time to get all of those flavors melded into that chili or the soup or whatever else, the better it is. So sometimes I can, cook it on low and I'm not planning on eating it that day. I'm going to eat it throughout that week. I've done my meal planning there. But if you do it on low and slow, it's giving the flavors more time to really blend together. However, if you have a recipe and it says, cook this on 8 hours, and I'm like, I don't have 8 hours, because I mainly do it for my work meals here if I'm serving a group of people, because I'm getting here at like 8 in the morning and I've got to feed people at noon. So I will bump the heat up on those things. But for every 2 hours that it says to cook something on low, you're going to half that basically. And it's only, if you pop it up to high, it'll only be 1 hour. For example, if you have a recipe that says cook this on low for 6 to 8 hours, then you can cook it on high from 3 to 4 hours. You're just dividing the 6 and the 8 by half to get the amount of time that you are supposed to cook it on high. Okay. And then I stole this conversion chart from Idaho University, which we will share these resources with you. But I just liked it. It had a nice chart and it wasn't from another organization or from someone who's trying to sell you a slow cooker there. But this is a nice time conversion chart right here. So if you have a recipe like a soup or a stew and it says, oh, you can cook this in the oven or on the stovetop for this amount of time, then you can see that is the setting that you need to cook it on low or on high. Okay, and you can see what I was kind of talking about. The slow cooker on low is going to be a longer amount of time. And then when it's on high, it's going to be about half that amount of time there. But most of your recipes that bake in your oven or simmer on the stovetop can be converted for slow cookers. Okay, so this is just a good rule of thumb. And Serene just put in the University of Idaho document, the link to it to show that conversion chart, as well as it's got plenty of other good information and even has some more recipes for you all. Okay, so say you've got your slow cooker, or you've kind of got an idea of which one you want to buy. I want to go over some more helpful tools for you. And I've mentioned some of these and other ones I haven't mentioned yet, but I, again, wanted to show you some more pictures because I'm a visual person and I like showing you different times. And you see that I think in every single picture, I've got a different brand. I do not have a preference for the brand. Again, I'm cheap, whatever's cheap or store brand, that is perfectly fine with me, because there's only so many ways you can make a slow cooker. But you can see a different type of locking lid here on the one that's left. Again, it's really just if you're going to transport stuff. I don't typically transport stuff unless it's for work. So I do have, I think one here that has a locking lid, but I do not have one at mine at home because I haven't taken it anywhere. Or I have children who can sit there and hold and make sure it doesn't fall over and spill. The removable insert. So you can see what I'm talking about here. Some of them, depending on the age that they were made, that black insert is not removable. And I think, yeah, all the ones I have here are removable. I'll show you those in a minute. But it's just really easy because it's dishwasher safe. And you know, because sometimes it can, if it burns, if you've, not put enough liquid or not filled it up enough, whatever, and it'll burn and it'll stick to all that. And it's not fun cleaning up. So, that's the 3-part thing. So both the lid and the insert can go in the dishwasher, and then the actual body of it, you can usually just wipe down with a wipe to make sure if there's any spillage or stuff like that. So other helpful tools that are good are, they have a variety of cooking liners. So again, the actual black part is the insert, and then they have liners. So I've got, again, make sure, okay. So I've got my Reynolds. Again, it doesn't have to be name brand because also Food Lion had 1-2 slow cooker liner. Now, the main thing about these is these are disposable. So you put it in the insert of the slow cooker, and when you're done, you pull up the bag and throw it away. Very easy cleanup. Now they can just, they're plastic basically, that they can rip depending on what you're doing in it. If you have, say you've got some chicken in there and then you're trying to cut up the chicken or cut up a big piece of ham with your knife or whatever, you're going to slice this liner and some of the liquid will possibly leak out into the insert, but still it's 10 times easier to clean a little bit of a spillage than the entire thing. You want to make sure that you're getting the right size, because I did notice when I bought these from Reynolds one time, I didn't realize that it had a size. I hadn't seen the size before. It's been a couple of years, but this one's for a small size. So you need to pay attention to what it fits, because this actually only fits a 1 to 3 quart crock pot or slow cooker. I don't have a 1 to 3 quart slow cooker, but this would be good for those that triple slow cooker. So make sure that you are buying the right one. Or if you're like me and you send your husband to the store, make sure you're specific about which size. Otherwise, you're not going to get the right size possibly. So you can buy the disposable ones, and let me change my view right here. I'm gonna change. So I don't have any, you can see my kitchen right here. Okay. So I've got 2 crock pots right here. Okay, so you can see one is kind of that oval shaped, and then one is more of that round. So I've got the insert that's in here, or I've got the black insert, and then I have the liner that's in here. So you can see it just opens up, this whole bag just opens up, and I can just place it in there. You want to make sure that I got that good down in there and that this lid is still making contact. Okay, it's still inside that rim right there. It's not sitting up, because then I'm not getting that moist heat. So too much steam is getting out of it. So that's why it's important, if you do have that meat or whatever else, it's not kind of sitting up like this. It's making that actual contact down there. Okay. Yes, this one right here, it does have the insert that will come out as well, but you can see it's a different shape. These are pretty much big enough, these bags, that it'll fit in either the round or the oval shape. Either one is perfectly fine. And both of them, you can see that they were kind of, one's a little bit older here, but they both have just the low and the high setting. This actually has a warm setting, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So depending on what you get, if you're one of those people who just go around to yard sales and get different things, then it can be a little difficult. This, I wish, it doesn't have a place for me to wrap the cord around. This one has a little nice handle that I can actually fit my hand in. So I can even just kind of put the cord through there. So it's easier to transport. Making sure that you've got good handles. Most of them, it can get kind of like, I don't have much of a grip here because it's just got this little bit of a handle, but here I can wrap my whole hand around it. So a lot of them nowadays have it where my hand can go in there. Okay. So that just kind of shows you those right there. I'll go back to my nice pretty kitchen there. But now they actually have silicone liners. So I've got the middle picture and the one on the right there. I did not find any liners at my local Walmart, but there's tons of different ones on Amazon, and they're relatively inexpensive. You just want to make sure, again, that you are getting the right liner for your crock pot. So for example, the one in the middle there is made for a 7 or 8 quart liner, or 8 quart crock pot. Okay. So, and it's an oval shape. They have them of all different kinds and sizes. So they did have some liners that I could put with my round crock pot, or they have some that I can do with my liners there. And you can see the one on the far right. They have even gone a step further, and they have multiple inserts. So like I showed you the triple slow cooker earlier, where you could have 3 different slow cookers cooking something differently, you could actually have one slow cooker and have 2 silicone liners inside them. Again, just like anything that you buy, whether it's the slow cooker or the silicone liner, we want to make sure that you are reading the manufacturer's guidelines and any recommendations. This example one, again, it says it's BPA free. It says there's, reusable, it's heat resistant, it's food grade, which is important. Again, you definitely want to make sure that you are not overfilling these, especially if there's a food allergy, so that something from this side is not getting transferred to this side, or that you are using 2 different spoons if you are using, 2 different liners, or you've got the triple slow cooker as well. They've had it where you could do 3 inserts in one of those 7 to 8 quart. They were kind of like in triangles there. So 3 of them can go in there. So just kind of like Google slow cooker, silicone liners, and find one that works for you. If you can look up your specific slow cooker, that's what I would recommend, is making sure it actually, like, just because you think it fits yours, it might not. So I typically will go look at a slow cooker and look up the model number or the brand or whatever else, and then what items go with this. Just at the bottom of Amazon, a lot of times it'll say also bought with this is these items too. If you are transporting it, as we mentioned, it's really good to have a locking top of some kind. But if you are transporting it for a longer distance, or you want to, again, just make sure it is staying warm. And if you have to not only transport the actual crock pot, but you need all of the little utensils that go with it. One of these types of bags, again, they have a variety of them. Making sure it fits your size is the key thing there. It's really good at preventing and controlling any spills. So if it does spill, or if you don't have a locking top and you don't want to go buy a new one, of course, you could just buy a bag and still be able to transport it. And even if it spills a little bit, it's all within that bag and it's not going to make a mess in your car or wherever else. Again, making sure it's the right type. It's really good. Just the fact that it's one of those insulated kind of cooler bags. It's just for your crock pot, but it's going to keep the stuff warm. You can see it's got this particular one. They've got a variety of them. So yours, the one you're looking at might not have it, but some of them do have pouches in the front or have lids at the top that you can store some of that other kitchen equipment that you need, whether it's food safe gloves, because you're going to serve someone from the public, oven mitts, serving spoons, especially if you have 3 different inserts or silicone liners. It's good to have a different spoon for each of the foods there. And it's all one bag. You don't have to have this bag and then another bag and then another bag. Because if you're like me, you've got your kids and your family there, and it can be a lot to try to transport all of that. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention food safety. So there's just a simple one slide on some basic food safety guidelines. Whenever you are cooking, meat of some kind, you always want to use a digital food thermometer to test the doneness of the meat. Or even if it's soups and stews, you want to stir it up and then stick that thermometer probe in there to test the stew or the soup to make sure it has been cooked to a proper temperature, as well as that it is being held to a proper temperature there. When you are storing leftovers from your crock pot, you don't want to, even though you can remove that insert, and technically you can put it in your refrigerator, that is not what we recommend, because it is going to take a very long time for that big pot or container to cool down enough. And food safety guidelines, you only have a certain amount of time to get it out of what we call the temperature danger zone. The bad temperatures where the bacteria and microorganisms are going to grow. So we want you to dish it out of that big slow cooker and put it in thin, shallow containers, whether it's a pan or a Rubbermaid container or something like that, so that you are, it's much easier to cool this amount of food versus this amount of food there. We want you to refrigerate any leftovers within 2 hours, and we don't want you to reheat in the slow cooker. That is not what it's been made for. And so again, it might not heat it fast enough to be safe, because it's heating from kind of the outside in. And so some of it might be perfectly good temperature, and then some of it might not. So you're going to get some of those cold spots. And if you didn't cook it to the right temperature, you're definitely not going to be able to kill it. So we recommend you heat it, reheat your leftovers either in the microwave or on the stovetop. And then if you want to put them, once they've been reheated, back into the slow cooker to keep it on low or warm to keep it hot during your event or during a serving time. That is the recommendation there. So the next thing, I'm going to show you a real quick video or two, and I've got some other resources that I'm going to share with you, but I just want to go ahead and put that plug in for next week's lesson is on air fryer essentials. So if you haven't registered for that one, I definitely recommend you do that. So I'm going to share my screen, hopefully. Okay. So everyone should have gotten this handout, I believe, on Friday. So these are just a couple of recipes. I make this maple brown sugar ham. This is my Thanksgiving. Okay, we're not as big on turkey in my house as we are ham. So every Thanksgiving morning, I get up and I dump all that in the crock pot, heat it on, put it on low for 4 hours, and then I can go enjoy my Thanksgiving. You know, I've got to do some of the side dishes or whatever else. Some of that stuff's already done. Some of it's, I just got to slide it into the oven. I try to keep it as simple as I can for Thanksgiving because it's my holiday too. And I have a small family though, so it's not as many people. As we get into the cooler weathers, we're not quite there yet in North Carolina, but I love soups and stews. Okay, so I've got a vegetable minestrone soup because my daughter's already been asking me for minestrone there. Again, you can cook desserts in here. So I gave you a slow cooker berry cobbler. And I love going and doing roasted chicken. So I love going and getting one of those small little roasters or small chickens from the grocery store. And I will just throw it into the crock pot with some different vegetables and we are good to go there. Okay. So some of the other handouts that I wanted to share, this is the one that was already put into the chat from Idaho. Okay. And so you can see it has the programmable versus the basic I was talking about. It has cooking temperatures of what you're supposed to cook. So when I tell you to take the temperature of your food, those are what it is. It even gives you some suggestions on flavor combinations with herbs and spices that I mentioned at the beginning. And there's that time conversion chart there. Okay. So it's got a little bit of information there. The North Dakota State University has this handout on slow cooker meals. Again, gives you some information on the benefits, how to handle leftovers, gives you some more times and temperatures that I've shared on converting your slow cooker recipes. And then there's 2 different pages of recipes here. We've got tons of recipes. Whether you're in North Carolina or another state, reach out to one of us or your local extension office. And if you tell them I need some more slow cooker recipes, we can just blow up your email, I'm sure, with tons of stuff. Okay, and then here's one for Virginia. This is kind of an interactive document that it has the links embedded for each of these recipes. So again, you can just look at these slow cooker meal ideas and see the the versatile nature of your slow cooker. You can cook a casserole, a soup, some steak, some ratatouille, all different kinds of things there. And I mentioned you're just, whatever protein you want to eat. My husband, again, can't eat beef. So we will put the chicken and the pork and we'll do venison, whatever. It just depends on if it's hunting or fishing season, what we're putting in there. And again, here's a lasagna one as well. So we've got a lot of good different handouts there for you. And then I am going to show you a video or 2. Let me see what time it is. Okay. So I think I've got time. So I've got a couple of quick videos. This is one from the University of Kentucky, a slow cooker soup. So let me. But this just music, I think. That one. This is the okay, this is me and my daughter, but this was at the beginning of COVID, so it's about 3 years ago, and I apologize for the grainy nature. We were all learning how to make videos at the beginning of COVID. We were just kind of thrown into this you need to be a videographer now and know how to do all this stuff. So this is my maple brown sugar ham And again, you can just, I don't show you what's in the pot there, but I just show you how to kind of how easy it is to do the 4 ingredients there.
Hello everyone. I'm Jennifer Brown, Family Consumer Science Agent with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. We're here today to make our crock pot maple brown sugar ham. So I've got about a 6 to 7 pound ham. I've actually thrown away the flavor packet that it normally comes with it, because usually when it comes with a sauce packet or whatever, it's typically higher in salt, which is what we want to stay away from. So we've got our ingredients. We have, first thing we're going to do is we have a cup of brown sugar. So we're going to kind of get this out of here, and we're going to pat it all around the different edges, the different sides, all 4 sides of the ham. So it's all nice and covered in the nice tasty brown sugar. Okay, and then we're going to pour our 2 cups of pineapple juice in here as well to give it some more delicious flavor. And last but not least, we're going to put our maple syrup. So we've got a 1/2 cup of maple syrup that, again, we're just going to pour over top of it. So 4 simple ingredients with your ham, your brown sugar, your pineapple juice, and your maple syrup. And then we're just going to put this in our, turn our crock pot on and cook it on low for 4 to 5 hours. So that's a simple way that you can make a crock pot brown sugar maple ham. This has been Jennifer Brown, Family Consumer Science Agent with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. Thanks for tuning in.
Okay, so you can see my ham of a daughter there. I do have another video. I'm not gonna share it with you because it's a little bit longer, but this is a video from Texas A&M, and it just talks about or reinforces the slow cooker safety. So if you are working with a group of individuals, say it's from your church, or you want to talk to your kids about things to do or not to do, I kind of, mentioned it, that of course, you need to wash your hands when you're doing raw meats. You need to make sure that you are not lifting the lid. One of the simple things I think I actually forgot to mention is you don't want to lift the lid when you are cooking on your slow cooker, because a lot of people want to lift it and then stir it and then lift it and stir it. Every time you lift that lid off, you are adding about 20 minutes to the cook time, and it's going to take longer, and your food might not be done in the way that you think it should be. Like, why is it taking so long? Because you keep opening it, and it lowers the temperature in a very short amount of time. It can lower it like 10 to 20 degrees, and it's going to take 20 extra minutes to get it back up to temperature there. So someone, I had a couple of questions. So someone asked about altitude here. So in this Idaho handout that we sent you, it talks about, again, yes, altitude can affect it, because the water and whatever other liquids you have are going to boil at a lower temperature, and then it's going to evacuate quickly there. So you are going to need a longer cooking time when using a slow cooker at high altitudes. Again, just like I've said multiple times, check the manufacturer's instructions there. Again, they also recommend that you can start off the first hour of cooking at high and then switch it down to low for the next little bit there. Yes, and it just reiterates, do not remove the lid there. So I'm trying to see if it said anything else there. So, yes, usually when I buy a piece of equipment, it will tell me, whether it's your canner or your slow cooker. Hopefully it'll tell you, like, if you live in this area and you have a different type of altitude, you need to make sure that you are doing this there. Okay, and then the other one, can the warm setting work for frozen food enough to have it warm enough to eat? No, we don't want you to, again, this is not just a warming thing that you're trying to warm up your frozen food. It's going to be just like the reheating. I'm going to ask you to cook it or reheat it on your stove or in your microwave, and then you can put it in here to keep it warm enough.